What is undoubtedly the scariest drug in existence? I don't know about in existence, but the scariest drug I've ever done is DOA. I didn't even know I was tripping until the friends I was hanging out with disappeared and I realized I was walking down the street at 1 a.m. laughing and talking to myself. Ooh, I can already tell this is going to be one where I'm going to say every single word wrong. Get ready in the comments, get those fingers stretched all ready to go. All right, here we go. We now have a Discord. Check out the server in the link in the description story. 2. I followed 3 tall, shadowy figures through what I thought was a cave until I was suddenly completely submerged in a local lake at 3 o'clock in the morning. Remember being unable to swim, then being in the hospital. I still have no idea who was there at the time or how I was saved. That memory still gives me the creeps. Story 3, I was already drunk when I did it. A friend and I passed by a brook, Muncia tree, and he told me that I could pick 2 of the flowers and just eat them raw and I would be tripping balls. For days we were around 19 at the time and I figured he was full of it, so I picked 2 big flowers and ate them, kind of just to call his bluff. Nothing happened for about an hour and a half. I just got really tired. I fell asleep at my friend's house, then woke up and decided to walk home. On my walk home, I started running into friends here and there who just decided to walk with me. We were all laughing and talking and having a good time. I didn't feel any different, just a little drunk still by the time I was on my street and could almost see my house. I was with a group of 10 or so. Then I turned to look at something and just like that, they were all gone. That's when I remembered the flowers and realized I had been alone. The whole walk, it still didn't feel like I was tripping. It may not seem like much, but I can't explain how terrifying that feeling was, but as bad as it was, I know. I got off easy after my experience. I became obsessed with reading trip reports on AO Wid of people who had done it. It was very clear that night could have gone way worse. Story 4. I came in here to say the same thing as earlier. Datra never again. I was 17 at the time and decided to try it alone one night. During the summer, while still living at my parents' house, went to a local park and hung out waiting for it to kick in. Around midnight or so, I was up on top of the play structure and another group of kids my age walked out from around the basketball courts in the harsh glow of these streetlights. They looked kind of rotted and disfigured and coming after me. I ran as fast as I could back to my house and barricaded my bedroom door and window with every stick of furniture I had and sat on my bed until dawn with a machete in my hands. I can't imagine what might have happened if one of my siblings or parents had checked on me. Story 5. When I was 15, I got depressed and parents brought me to a psychiatrist to put me on medication because they were crappy parents, and instead of treating me like less crap, they would just give me some pills. I don't remember the name of the meds, but that's how it was. I stopped feeling emotion. I no longer felt sad or angry or depressed, but I also literally could not feel happy or excited about anything I did, not laugh, and I did not cry for 3 months. I felt nothing. I was blank. It wasn't peace. It was numbing TV static in my brain. When I went back to the psychiatrist in a few weeks, I told him I hated it and wanted to stop. His solution was to bump up the dose until I was on the highest medically possible dose. I was like a 115B girl at the time, and I was a zombie for months. I will never relive that again. I lost all my friends and stopped interacting with people. In that time, I was a ghost. This sounds a lot like I don't know, the pills they used to give housewives to sedate them or whatever. Definitely not a good solution to like anything, by the way. Yes, let's just take you and strip the humanity out of you. That's fun. That'll be good. Story 6. Any drug utilized as a paralytic neuromuscular blocker or similar used in the medical field for intubations and other procedures where having a patient move around would be dangerous to themselves or make the procedure extremely difficult, usually used in conjunction with an agent to snow out the patient, making them forget that they're under sedation. If you forgo the snowing, the patient is acutely aware that they cannot move, cannot speak, and cannot breathe. Right now, I got to say this one has my vote. Being trapped in your own body is one of my biggest fears that I think I've had since like way too young. Story 7. Spice. When I worked in an inpatient psychiatric unit, the police brought someone in who'd taken a whole lot of it. I have no idea what horrendous things this guy was seeing, but he was having a real bad time of it. He didn't come down for over 24 hours, and he spent a lot of that time in restraints to stop him from doing serious harm to himself or other people. Literally, as soon as it was out of his system again, he started craving it and trying to get us to let him out so he could score some more. Story 8. Used to have a roommate who worked on oil rigs, so he couldn't use real drugs. Switched entirely to spice since it would still let him piss clean him, and his girlfriend smoked that stuff multiple times every day. They were both major stoners before, so this was just a legal continuation of that habit. They did that daily for months, no issues. One morning, the girlfriend took half a hit. After waking up, she remembers that part. Pretty clearly just a baby hit before. Going to take a shower, that's when she blacked out from the perspective of me. And my roommate, it was like a scene from The Exorcist. It was like a demon. Possessed her screaming at the top of her lungs to the point that she was spitting blood and frothing at the mouth. Her whole body was seizing and contorting in ways I haven't seen before, scratching and biting at anyone who tried to come near her like a rabid animal we called the paramedics we needed to get the police involved. Little 110B girl required 6 officers to subdue her and get her strapped down. Onto a stretcher, she ended up being fine, placed in a psych ward for a day, and when she calmed down an IV of electrolytes and B vitamins doctors at, the hospital said that this kind of reaction wasn't uncommon, even a tiny bit, can just randomly set you off completely. Doesn't matter if it's your first a 100th or even 1,000th time trying. They said it's even been triggered by secondhand smoke of it. Absolutely screw that crap story, and there are a lot of crazy drugs that screw up your skin and make people crazy as hell, but honestly, nothing scares me more than I've seen. Too many people throw away everything in their lives just to chase that high. I've seen former classmates turn into junkies who steal from their friends and family, dig through trash cans and sell themselves within months of shooting up. For the first time, never try ice have. You ever known someone who is really into it? They find these insane problems to get into, fill their life to the brim. With them and the way the drug changes, their perception, it makes it extremely hard for anyone to even feel bad for them. That sounds like the deepest nightmare to me. It turns someone into a catastrophe magnet while repelling any form of love or help. It's perfectly evil. Story 11, I had a student who was hooked on ice. I felt bad for him because I had been made aware of his history. I was teaching a chem lab. If he was high, I had to follow a script to get him out, and it was pretty bad, and he didn't seem that far off for the first month. Then he started stalking me and one of my other students, and that's when it went too far. He showed up to lab shortly after that, either high or coming down. I think it's the latter. He could barely stand, was drenched in sweat, and couldn't really comprehend what I was saying or answer. Questions I asked if maybe he wanted to sit the lab out, I wasn't allowed to say. You're high, get out of here. He didn't look like he was feeling well. He said he was just going to get some water grabbed. His bag, and I never saw him again. Story 12, agreed ice is one of the few drugs that is very resistant to drug addiction treatment, especially for long-time users. It's very insidious. Like most drugs, it usually starts out with a person trying smoking at once at a party with a friend or as part of intimate action. It's also very much tied with downers like opiates. Now as opiate use rises, so does ice. This progresses to occasional use on weekends, more frequent use during the week, and eventually daily use for some. It progresses to injection, which is the most severe because of the rapid come up and down, which leads to a much stronger addiction. Ice rewires the reward system of the brain. It activates dopaminergic receptors and blocks dopamine reuptake. This explains the euphoria. It also explains the hallucinations and paranoia. Think schizophrenic-like symptoms, as well as rhythm, thermal dysregulation, and appetite suppression. Long-term users may exhibit Parkinson-like symptoms from chronic abuse. What is the worst aspect of dopaminergic activation is that your moral code, your motivation, and reward systems are all dopamine-based. Think the behavioral reinforcement side of all addiction. You are actively pressing that reward button with usage, so over time, your life spirals. Ice destroys people's minds in a way that is really difficult to fix. Cravings can last for years. Besides the physical damage, if the addiction gets bad enough, ice has devastated communities because it's cheap, insidious, and it keeps people craving it for years. Recovered addicts' brains will light up when put into the mindset of their drug use for a long time after recovery. It's scary. Story 13. My ex used ice. He started to because he couldn't afford his ADD meds, and buying ice via Silk Road was much cheaper. He was on slow-release Viance instead of Adderall due to abusing Adderall before. He always took it orally, though, and never smoked it. He ended up making and using opium tea at the same time as well, mixing the uppers and downers. He made me take it countless times, though I never wanted to. It makes you talk like crazy and spill your guts about anything and everything, so he wanted me to be able to keep up with him, and he also had a massive paranoia that I was lying to him. In addition, he wanted me to take it to lose weight. Finally, it got the better of him, and he went into a massive 3-day paranoid spiral of no sleep, hacking into my phone and tearing the apartment apart, looking for evidence that I had cheated on him. Which, of course, there was none. It was a horrible relationship from start to finish, but the drugs just turned him into a beast that had no control over any impulses anymore. He tried to strangle me to death after all the times I did it with him. I think whatever powers may be that I am not addicted, nor do I have any desire to do it again. It is a horrible drug. I mean, the drug was always associated with these awful experiences and awful persons, so maybe that helped. Maybe the brain managed to push through and fight those dopamine mess uppers or whatever, either way up. Very thankful that you're all right. Story 14. H. Ice and crocodile for their highly addictive nature. I used to live in the Central Valley of California, where one of the worst ice and H epidemics are, and I've met and seen the people addicted to it, and I've had friends get on it. It will screw up every aspect of your life and will never let go. Crocodile isn't really in the US. I think I hear about it being more common in South Africa, but it's just as addictive as ice and makes your skin rot off. It's so addictive that people will either rob HIV/SLADS patients for their meds or get HIV themselves to get it. Prescribed story 15, definitely salvia. Divinorum with 20 times concentration or more. I'm quite surprised no one else is mentioning it. You can't roll it because there's no way you could smoke an entire joint just with one little dose. You are taken out of reality in the form of something that I can only describe as a mental bungee. When you appear in that world or dimension, you automatically know you don't belong there while you're mentally screaming in horror. In salvia dimension, your body tries to reach back reality by moving around. I asked the dealer that sold it to me if he was making good money out of it, and he told me exactly the opposite. Turns out this is not like weed or whatever. When people try it, they never want to do it again. There are plenty of videos on YouTube about trips. Some are fake, but there are many that I'm pretty sure are real. I remember that a friend of mine wanted to take it, so I offered to take care of him. While he was on it, he took the hit and burst out laughing during 25 solid minutes. When he starts to come back, I told him what happened and asked if he was enjoying it. He told me it was a complete nightmare and that the only thing he wanted was to come back to this reality where we belong. Fun times. Okay, this might just be the way I'm saying it, but does salvia divor not just sound like a stupid Harry Potter spell or something? I've got to be saying that wrong, right? Story salvia, one of the most intense psychedelics you can ever do. That crap will literally turn you into a glass of orange juice for what feels like eternity. You completely forget that you are or ever have been human. Meanwhile, your body is still functioning. You move around and scream, all while in the weirdest and scariest trip of your life. It has a strange effect of making you believe what you see and think it's real and has always been real. You forget who and what you are and accept that your life is gone. You prepare to live in torture for eternity. Also, most people think it's illegal, but a lot of states haven't criminalized it. Look up if it's legal where you live, and you might be able to find it at your local smoke shop. This is one of the reasons I will never understand how the government decides which drugs are illegal. It seems super arbitrary. Like, yes, obviously the common argument is like, oh, weed is a class. Whatever the worst, they consider it the worst kind of drug along with ice, H, and all that. And then this salvia is legal, at least in some places. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. I guess to play devil's advocate, though, it does do its own anti-drug campaign when you take it. So I guess that's not that a bad story. 17 to pate prescription. Drug for preventing seizures, but the default drug for preventing migraines. That will screw you up so bad it's scary. I got on too high of a dose thanks to my idiot doctor and basically ceased to function like a normal human. I had no memory. I would black out at least once a day for an hour at a time. I think I still have lingering side effects from it after being on it for 5 years, I think. Switched over to something else last year and it helped, but I still have issues. I still miss out on entire conversations while they're happening. It appalls me that this drug was also approved for weight loss. The couple pounds you lose in the first week come right back within a month if you are ever recommended this drug. Refuse it and ask for something else. Why are any drugs recommended for weight loss? I don't get it. Like, is there a single drug out there that makes you lose weight in a healthy way? I would wager not story 16 as scary as crocodile or any other drug that eats your flesh is. To me, it will always be ice. I know the effects of croc and other drugs are more scary, but the impact ice has on people scares me. One of my friends who I met in middle school did ice, and now it's saddening and scary how different he is now. It's all right that he's still around, but it's deeply saddening that I'll never get to see the friend I hung out with in school anymore. Story 19. Grapefruit. Hear me out. Grapefruit contains a chemical that inhibits the metabolism of a whack ton of drugs in the liver, causing regular medicinal doses of medicine to build up in the body, effectively causing an overdose, sometimes fatal blood pressure. Medications, mood stabilizers, and anti-epileptic drugs are particularly affected by it. Say no to the hell fruit. It's crazy to think about that. Me reading that story has a non-zero chance to save someone's life. That's nuts. Well, now you know, people consult your doctors Before you grapefruit story 20 in my personal and quite unexperienced drug experiences, I must say that the combination of cat and nitrous oxide can be very scary in the moment. I've had multiple mind-bending experiences on cats, where reality around me can change shape, sound, or just about anything else, but I will note two experiences I had where I was Onette and then did a NOS balloon. At the same time, one more recently I was on cat at an after party at university, and whenever I involve balloons and cat, together I seem to have a bad experience. Don't ask me why I keep going back in this experience. I cannot really remember the first 20 to 30 seconds during the balloon, but when I came out of the actual balloon and observed my surroundings, the whole room was lit in a dark red with all my friends stuck in a 5-sec loop. But the scariest thing is that they were talking in complete reverse. The lighting can be explained as the main lights were off and we had a disco ball that changes color in time with the music, but the sound of my friends' voices rewinding constantly every 5 seconds was terrifying in my head. I thought I was trapped in an alternate universe, and I really wanted to get back, at which point one of my friends tapped on my shoulder and I came out of the trip, or hold to the second. Time is actually better in my head because it is a friend who I watched experience something similar to what happened to me. He came out of his balloon and was sat breathing and just had a 1,000-yard stare into the wall. At which point, after about 30 seconds, asked if he was all right. Me and about 4 others in the room all noticed something was really off, to which he responded, "Yes, I'm fine." But when he looked at me, there was nothing behind his eyes. It was just a blank expression. And he was sort of looking straight through me. We carried on talking about something else to let him come out of his trip, when all of a sudden he put his hands in the air and said, "Help, help, help." We were all saying, "Are you okay, mate?" And he was responding, but he was answering the wrong person every time. For example, my friend sat on the opposite side of the room saying, "Hey, are you back with us?" Well, chuckling, and the lad turned to me, still with the same eyes, and was just speaking gibberish. It took him a few minutes to come around and didn't believe us at all. Hilarious in hindsight, but scary at the time. I hate to say it, I think you got the wrong idea about this. If it's hilarious in hindsight, but only scary at the time, I don't know what's going on with you. This sounds scary. Always like this doesn't even sound like a particularly fun experience to have. I don't get it, man. If this is how you party to op or anyone else out there, fine, but like just stay safe.